Pseudomonas, Proteus, Halobacterium, and Micrococcus, etc. Next, carbohydrates, they get converted into acid plus alcohols plus gases. Now, this happens in the presence of fermentive microorganisms like Streptococcus, Leuconostoc, Micrococcus, etc. Now, fats get converted into fatty acids plus glycerol like gram-negative bacteria. Now, coming to enzymatic action. Enzymatic action is due to the action of various enzymes found in the body tissues or cells of fishes. They spoil the tissue by the process of autolysis and make the fish susceptible to bacterial attack. Now, proteinase, for example, can digest muscle proteins of the fish, catalase, the gill spoilase, and ATPase, brings about a complete disappearance of ATP from muscle tissue in about 6 to 8 hours. Next is autolysis of protein. So this results in formation of amino acids and other nitrogenous products, which further decompose and produce ammonia, carbon dioxide, volatile basic compounds like various amines and fatty acids, and also foul smell products like indole, scatol, that is 3-methylenodole, etc. Next, coming to preservation methods. So how to preserve the fish for short duration? The first one is chilling. So what is chilling? This is obtained by covering the fish with layers of ice. However, ice alone is not effective for long preservation because melting water brings about a sort of leaching of valuable flesh contents which are responsible for the flavor. But ice is effective for short-term preservation, such as is needed to transport landed fish to nearby markets or to canning factories, etc. So what happens for a short time? For a short time, we can put the fish in the ice uh, on the way to the factories, on the way to the factories for where we go for canning, etc. Now here, autolytic enzyme activities are checked by, there are two. One is lowering the temperature and the second one is preservation for long time. Now what is preservation for long duration? In this, the fishes are passed through cleaning, gutting, conservation, and storage. Cleaning includes what happens during cleaning. They are washed thoroughly in cold, clean water to remove bacteria, slime, blood, fecal matter, and mud, etc. from the body surface of the fish. So it is being done under the proper sanitary conditions. Next is gutting. After cleaning the fishes are kept aside. Then, by removing the viscera, the bacteria in the gastrointestinal tract and enzymes of visceral organs are removed along with it to prevent bacterial decomposition and enzymatic autolysis respectively. Next, coming to conservation and storage. Conservation is necessary to keep the dead fish in fresh condition for a quite long time. This is achieved by employing any one of the methods like freezing, drying, salting, smoking, and canning. Now, what is freezing? Freezing means removal of heat from the body. To check the enzymatic bacterial action and putrefaction, it is preferred to store the fish under lower temperature. The fishes are chilled in ice when they are to be stored for a few days. Ice is put inside the body cavity in large fishes. The fishes are arranged in tiers in shells or boxes and stacked and should not be dumped in heaps in cold storage. It is preferred to store at a temperature below 6.6 degrees centigrade to prevent microbial spoilage of fish. See, you can see here how the fish is preserved, the various methods. Here, how they are preserved in the cans, jars, etc. Now, the fishes are arranged in tiers and shelves or boxes and stacked and should not be dumped in heaps in cold storage. It is preferred to store at a temperature below 6.6 degrees centigrade to prevent microbial spoilage of fish. Now, the formation of ice to some extent causes damage to the biological material, like growth of crystals of ice ruptures the structural components, releasing the enzymes, and precipitation of liquid water, and thereby causing precipitation of proteins affecting the change of pH, making it more or less dry. So when more ice is there, even then the fish gets spoiled. The pH value changes, either they become too dry or too soft. The ice formation is initiated when the temperature of fish is lowered to about -1 degree centigrade, with a change in the concentration of inorganic and organic compounds. Now, freezing continues to fall with the lowering of temperature. At -50 degrees centigrade to -60 degrees centigrade, the entire water in the fish is frozen. Now, the maximum freezing of water is between 1 degree centigrade to 5 degrees centigrade with the different size crystal formation of ice. Now, let us see what is deep or quick freezing. When fish is intended to be stored for a long period, quick freezing is preferred, which inhibits bacterial action. During quick freezing, every part of the product comes within the range of 0 degrees to -5 degrees centigrade. Properly frozen fish at -20 degrees centigrade retains its physical properties and nutritive values for a year or more and is almost as good as fresh fish. Small size crystals need short time for freezing, less time allowed for diffusion of salts. And evaporation of water and prevention of decomposition are some of the advantages in quick freezing. What are the ways? There are three ways of effecting quick freezing. One is direct immersion of fish in the refrigerating medium, indirect contact with the refrigerant through plates, forced convection of refrigerated air directed at heat transfer surfaces. There are several methods of quick freezing. Among the various types of quick freezing plants installed in India, the carrier air blast type is widely used. Now look at this slide. How the preservation of fish is done in cold storage. Preserving of fish in cold storage is practiced on a small scale in India. The West Coast has a large number of freezing plants at places like Bombay, Mangalore, Cochin, Trivandrum, where freezing of prawns, lobsters, and frog legs are undertaken. At Bombay, fishes like pomfrets, jewfishes, etc. are frozen and stored for several months. Oil sardines, mackerel, and seer are the three commercial important food fishes used in the application of refrigerated seawater for preservation. These fishes are stored in artificial seawaters prepared by dissolving common salt to give a sodium chloride content 3.5% at a temperature of -1.1 to 0 degrees centigrade. In general, the fishes stored in refrigerated seawater had firm texture and better appearance than ice stored ones. Now, what is the uses of ice? Fish preservation time can be extended by using ice, and ice reduces fish body temperature and keeps the body cool for more time. Water formed due to ice melting cleans the mucus and other material of the fish body. Ice is useful as good preservative due to its melting point, that is 0 degrees centigrade, and latent heat 80 calories. Now, due to high relative humidity of ice, it is very good for preservation. Ice is cheap and very effective preservative. Now, what is the next one is freeze drying. This is modified deep freezing, completely eliminating all chances of denaturation. The deep frozen fish at minus 20 degrees centigrade is then dried by direct sublimation of ice to water vapor with any melting into liquid water. This is achieved by exposing the frozen fish to 140 degrees centigrade in a vacuum chamber. So the fish is then packed or canned in dried condition. So the frozen fish is exposed to high temperature. So this is drying completely. Now, any loss of flesh contents by way leaching during melting of ice is thus avoided. The product is quite fresh looking in appearance, flavor, color, and quality. Next, coming to filleting. What is filleting? The processing industry also adopts freezing of fish in the forms of fillets at times when fish are not available. So it's nothing but removing bones from the fish and freezing so that the fish can be directly used in making recipes. Now, fillets are nothing but the strips of flesh cut parallel to the backbone of the fish. See, you can see in the picture how the fish, the flesh is cut directly parallel to the backbone. This is called a fillet. Fillets like milkfish, fishes like milkfish, catfish, perches, mullets, carps, eel, etc. are suitable for filleting and freezing. Filleting can be done by hand, which is economical, or by using a filleting machine. Filleting may be with or without skin, and it fetches a much higher price in the luxury market. Fillets are dripped in brine to enhance their appearance and to reduce the amount of drip, and it also gives a salty flavor. The freezing of fillets can be an individual quick freezing of or block freezing. After dropping in brine, the fillets are wrapped in polythene sheets and frozen in contact plate freezer at minus 35 degrees centigrade to 40 degrees centigrade. So in block freezing, the fillets in known weight of 2 kgs are packed in polythene bags lined with wax, and sufficient quantity of glazed water is poured to cover the fillets. The fillets are put in a freezer at minus 35 degrees to 40 degrees centigrade and stored at minus 23 degrees centigrade. See, in this picture, you can see the fillets, and here you can see in the factory how they are covered in the polythene bags and stored. Next is drying. Drying involves dehydration, that is, the removal of moisture contents of fish so that the bacterial decomposition or enzymatic autolysis does not occur. When moisture contents are reduced up to 10%, the fishes are not spoiled provided they are stored in dry conditions. Fish drying is achieved either naturally or by artificial means. What is natural drying? In natural drying, the fishes, after being caught, are washed and dried in sunshine. They are suspended or laid out flat on the open ground. The process, however, has a number of disadvantages, of course. It is slow and results in much loss through purification. It can be carried out only in dry, well aerated climate receiving sunshine which is not too hot. It does depends upon the environmental factors and availability of space. Lastly, only the thin fishes can be preserved by this method because the fat fishes have much flesh, allowing bacterial decomposition to continue in deeper parts of their body. In additional disadvantage is that dried fishes require a long soaking period to restore water, and that the sun-dried fishes are not usually released. So, if you want to cook dry fish in the first, we need to soak them in the water so that they absorb water and become soft. Then only we can prepare any recipe. See, in the picture, we can see how the drying of fish is done naturally on a large area, how the fish are spread and allowed to dry to the sunlight. This is the natural method. Now, what is artificial drying? In artificial drying, the killed fishes are cleaned, gutted, and have their heads removed. They are then cut lengthwise to remove large parts of their spinal column, followed by washing and drying them mechanically. Next, so next one is salting. Salting is a process where the common salt, sodium chloride, is used as a preservative, which penetrates the tissues, thus checks the bacterial growth and inactivates the enzymes. Salting commences as soon as the fish surface comes in contact with common salt, and the end product shall have the required salinity with taste and odor. Some of the factors involved in salting of fish which play an important role are purity of salt, quantity of salt used, method of salting, and weather conditions like temperature, etc. Now, during the process, the small fish are directly salted without being cleaned. In the medium and large sized fish, the head and the viscera are removed, and longitudinal cuts are made with the help of knives. in the fleshy areas of the body. Then the fish is washed and filled with salt or uniform penetration through flesh. Now, large fishes like sharks are cut into convenient sized pieces. Generally, sardines, mackerels, seafish, catfishes, sharks, and prawns are used for salting. The salt used should be pure common salt so as to keep the quality of the fish fresh. Traces of calcium and magnesium caused whitening and stiffening of the flesh and gives bitter or acid flavor to the product. In addition, it does not allow the easy penetration of common salt. Dry salting, wet salting, and mixed salting are the three methods employed in salting of fish. Now, what is dry salting? In this process, the fish is first uh, rubbed in salt and packed in layers in the tubs and cemented tanks. The salt is applied in between the layers of the fishes in the proportion of 1 is to 3 to 1 is to 8 to fish. The proportion of salt varies with the fish, since the oily fish require more salt. At the end of 10 to 24 hours, the fishes are removed from the tubs and washed in salt brine, and dried in the sun for 2 or 3 days. Large fish lose about one third, and small fish about one half of their dressed weight. Now, what is wet salting? The cleaned fish are put in the previously prepared salt solution. It is stirred daily till it is properly picked. In some fishes like seafish, black pomfret, Indian salmons, etc., the gut is removed and filled with salt in 1 is to 3 proportion. First, the salt is filled in the gut region of the fish and stocked. On the following day, further addition of salt is done since the salt settles down at the bottom. Finally, the process is repeated to ensure the proper filling up of salt and left undisturbed for 7 to 10 days, allowing the liquor to flow off. This method is mostly followed in eastern parts of our country. In western parts, the gut is removed and the salt is applied in one lot, and they are arranged in bamboo baskets. The fishes preserved in wet salting process are to be consumed before the rain sets in, and the fishes are marketed without drying. Next, coming to mixed salting. In this process, simultaneous use of salt and brine is followed. The salting process is continued till the concentration of salt in the surrounding medium equalizes with the concentration of salt in the fish tissue. The salting process may affect the shape, structure, and the mechanical features of muscle tissue. Next is wet salting of fish. So, how it is done? In this process, simultaneous use of salt and brine is used. The salting process is continued till the concentration of salt in the surrounding medium equalizes with the concentration of salt in the fish tissue. The salting process may affect the shape, structure, and the mechanical features of muscle tissue. Then coming to pit curing. What is pit curing? It is another process employed in south and southeast of our country. In this process, the fish treated with salt and are buried in pits lined with leaves. It is like storing them. First, apply lot of salt on the fish, cover them or wrap them with the leaves, and bury them in the soil. After 2 to 3 days, they are removed and marketed directly. Now, next coming to smoking. In this method, landed fish is cleaned and brined. It is then exposed to cold or hot smoke treatment. In cold smoking, first a temperature of 38 degrees centigrade is raised from a smokeless fire. After this heating, cold smoke at a temperature below 28 degrees centigrade is allowed to circulate past the fish. In case of hot smoking, first a strong fire produces a temperature around 130 degrees centigrade. This is followed by smoking at a temperature of 40 degrees centigrade. So between 30 to 40 degrees centigrade. The smoke has to be wet and dense. Good controls are necessary over density, temperature, humidity, speed of circulation, pattern of circulation, and time of contact with fish of the smoke. Next, the phenol content of the smoke acts as an antiseptic and it also imparts a characteristic color and flavor. So because of the smoking, what happens? The color gives a different color to the fish. So some condensation of tar and resins also adds to the taste. Strict hygienic conditions are maintained throughout this operation. For best results, fishes are hanged on special structures in special installations called smoke houses. Some are produced by burning wood in the smokehouse itself or conducted to it through pipes from fire produced at a distance. For making fire and smoke, only hardwood, that is conifer wood and sawdust, etc., are used. Smokehouse has a chimney at the top for exit of smoke. It also has a number of galleries for hanging fishes. The smokehouse is made of fireproof material and is very well insulated to retain heat. Next, coming to canning. Canning is a method of preservation in which spoilage can be averted by killing microorganisms through heat. It is generally well known that food carries microorganisms which cause spoilage if it is left unchecked. These microorganisms are to be eliminated and the entry of others should be restricted. The canning process involves pre-treatment of fish, preparation of can, filling and closure of the can, technique of heating the filled cans to kill microorganisms without damage to fish, finally cooling, cleaning and storage of the product. The raw material should be processed properly since it contains most dangerous Clostridium botulinum, which should be destroyed. This is found in protein-rich food such as fish which has pH between 6 to 7 and is non-acidic. There are some other heat-resistant bacteria like Clostridium sporogenis, which can be eliminated at a temperature of 5 to 6 times more than Clostridium botulinum. It needs a temperature of 120 degrees centigrade for 4 minutes or at 115 degrees centigrade for 10 minutes to kill them in large number. Now, these cans are made up of tin plates in canning industry. The tin plate is a thin steel sheet coated with tin on both the sides. It has a combination of strength of steel and protective properties. The tin plate has corrosion resistance since it is covered with 4 layers, namely alloy, tin, protective oxide, and oil, in addition with special enamels or liquors which have been developed. Various types of inorganic liquors are used to absorb sulfur from the fish. Seafoods, when canned, produce sulfur ions which may react with the coating of tin. These sulfur ions are not detrimental to health but affect the appearance of the product. Other materials like sulfur resistant black plate, steel coated with aluminum, zinc, nickel or titanium have been tried, but its application is found to be very little. Glass jars are also tried, which require longer processing time than tin plates. The prepared can should be protected against damage and corrosion and should be stored in dry closed rooms. The can should be thoroughly washed with boiling water before tilling to avoid dust and microorganisms if they are present in the tin. Next, what are the methods of canning? First one is filling. Empty cans should be packed carefully by employing the manual labor or through mechanical device. While packing, care should be taken to see that no air pockets are left which cannot be removed by exhausting. At the same time, too tight packing should be avoided. It is also better to leave some space at the top for accommodating gas released while processing. Now, fat fishes like salmon, herring, mackerel, etc., they result in acceptable products when salt is added. Non-fatty fishes call for special additives to improve flavor and texture. So brine is used when fish is not salted properly as an additive for enhancing flavor. Monosodium glutamate is used as additive for canned fish at a concentration of 1.6 grams per kg in a fish. Vegetable oil and olive oils are also used for filling the cans. Next is exhausting. The air and gas from the can should be removed before its sealing process. This can be done by using exhausting, which minimizes the strain on the can through expansion of air during heat processing. Removal of oxygen to avoid internal corrosion and creation of vacuum when the can is cooled. These are the indications of sound packing since it protects the color and flavor of products and retains vitamins, etc. Further, it checks the growth of organisms, which requires air for growth. Later, sealing is done to obtain airtight seal between the cover and the body of the container so that the spoilage agents cannot enter the sealed container after the canned fish has been sterilized. Next, microbial spoilage. Sometimes the canned fish shows sign of microbial spoilage, which may be due to insufficient pre-treatment, especially inadequate cooling or improper preservation of raw material. It exhibits signs of spoilage accompanied by the presence of dead bacteria. These bacteria may at times withstand the processing during cooling and storage. Insufficient processing leaves back a number of heat-resistant spores forming bacteria in the canned product. The commonly observed spore formers are mesophilic anaerobes, that is Clostridium sporogenes, Clostridium putrificum, etc. They produce putrefied smell, mesophilic aerobes. They produce flavor and change color and softens the contents also. If you look at the picture, see how a rotten fish looks like. The microbes have spoiled the canning method. The fish has spoiled. So finally, the canned product is thoroughly examined by various methods like examining the product organoleptically, chemically, and microbiologically for the quality of final product. Then it is properly labeled, which should exhibit the name of the product, meat contents, and any specific information if required. The processed cans can be stored at a room temperature, which should be just above the freezing point of canned products. Now, what are the demerits? Chilling brings about denaturation of flesh. This is because of ice crystals formed during chilling and causing mechanical damage to the muscles. Cell walls burst, structure gets deformed, and the flesh loses much of flavor and taste. The flesh also becomes dehydrated and loses, and it loses texture. If proper hygienic measures are not taken during the process, like washing, guttation, and evisceration, that is nothing but the removal of viscera, more harm would be done to the preserved material, owing to increase in the bacterial population. Incomplete or poor preservation leads to decarboxylation of histidine of fish flesh into histamine. The later, some other related substances, collectively called saurine, are common causes of food poisoning. Drying reduces weight, nutritive value, and the digestibility of the flesh. Excessive salting allows growth of salt-tolerant bacteria, causing pink eye spoilage of fish flesh. Salting combined with smoking results in loss of protein, about 1 to 5% due to salting and 8 to 30% due to smoking. Smoking also accelerates rancidity, that is, stale smell or the taste of that fat, and so reduces digestibility of fat products. Canning leads to much loss of vitamin B, pantothenic acid, teroxylglutamic acid, and vitamin C. So, though we have learned about the various methods of preservation of foods, there are demerits in all these methods. So, these are the demerits what we have learned now. So, it's always good to have fresh seafood. Next, after preservation, the methods of transportation, how the food should be transported from one fish to one area to another area when we are sending them in bulk quantity. Depending upon the duration of transport, the ice can be packed with more provision for fish if transport duration is less than 20 hours, 24 hours. Only 3 by 4 or half of the quantity of ice may be used. If it is for longer period before marketing and distribution, use of more ice is advised to the container. So, for less span of preservation, we use only 3/4 or half of the quantity of the ice. Or if you want to preserve for longer time, the transportation is taking longer period. That means when we are uh, exporting to a far off place, then more ice should be used. The container which is ready for transport is loaded into the rail wagons or trucks without leaving any space in between the boxes, thus avoiding the rate of melting of ice. Containers should not be exposed to direct sunlight. The containers can be properly cleaned and dried for reuse. They can be used on an average of 3 trips involving journey of 40 hours. The cost of container, thermocol, polythene, gunny bag, nails, etc. varies from time to time. So the exact cost cannot be specified at a particular level. Now the fish is landed after that. Once they reach the destination, in huge quantities at the center, they can be deep frozen and stored if the facilities for immediate transport are not available from the landing area. So once the container it is reached the destination place, immediately the people cannot sell the fish. Again, after they have to store at one place in the godown or somewhere, and then they have to sell it to the retail shops and all that. The freezing can be done in metallic trays, partitioned to hold the fish of uh, 2.5 to 3 hours at the frozen blocks. Were removed from the trays and packed immediately in the container. So this type of freezing facilitates small size fish like sardine, mackerel, etc. While air blast freezer or tunnel freezer is used for large size fish individually. This method is better for transportation. This method is better for transportation involving journey of 2 to 3 days. Now I'm just going to read out the summary, what we have learned in this chapter. The first one is preservation and processing. So these are the very important parts of commercial fisheries. The spoilage of fish flesh occurs mainly due to various chemical, microbial, and the enzymatic action. Then chilling is the preservation for short duration. Preservation for long-term duration involves cleaning, gutting, and conservation and storage. Freezing is removal of heat from the body. Fishes are chilled in ice when they are to be stored for 2 days. Next, drying process. It involves the hydration, that is, the removal of moisture contents of fishes so that the bacterial decomposition or enzymatic autolysis does not occur. In natural drying, the fishes after being caught are washed and dried in the sunshine. Artificial drying involves drying the fish mechanically. After fishes are gutted, heads are removed and cleaned. Salting is a process where the common salt is used as a preservative, which penetrate tissues. Thus, it checks the bacterial growth and inactivates the enzymes. In dry salting, the fish is rubbed in salt and packed in layers in tubs and cemented tanks. In smoking, fish is cleaned and brinned. It is then exposed to cold or hot smoke treatment. Smoking. The phenol content of the smoke act as an antiseptic and it also imparts a characteristic color and flavor. Canning is a method of preservation in which spoilage can be averted by killing microorganisms to heat. The important methods of economic utilization of fresh fish involves in transportation. Nowadays, fish transportation is advanced, making it possible for distribution of fresh fish by established cold storages, ice plants, use of modern containers, refrigerated vehicles for the fast movement of fish. Now, with this, we have come to the end of this chapter. And now let us discuss about the questions that are repeatedly asked from this chapter or the questions you might expect from this chapter. So these are the 20 mark questions you can say, or the 30, you can write in 30 lines. For example, write about causes of spoilage of fish. Write about methods of preservation. Detailed study about quick freezing, or write in detail about salting of fishes. Write in detail about canning of fishes, or describe the transport of fishes. So these are 30 line, these are the long answers which you can just before the exam you can go through these slides which I have shared, and you can just as it is you can learn and write them. Next, for short answers, that is 10 lines, you can write in 10 lines. The questions that are frequently asked are: write about freshness of fishes, uses of ice in freezing, freeze drying, filleting of fishes, normal drying of fishes, dry salting of fishes, wet salting of fishes, smoking of fishes, exhausting in canning of fishes, microbial spoilage, and the demerits of fish preservation. So these are the questions you can expect, students. Hope you have understood the chapter. Just go through the slides. Thank you.